Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins is the second prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. It was published in March of 2025, 5 years after Collins' first prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The novel became an instant bestseller and sold over 1.5 million copies worldwide in its first week, making it the biggest debut for any book in the Hunger Games series. The prequel is set 24 years prior to the original trilogy and follows 16-year-old Haymitch Abernathy as he is forced to compete in a special 50th Hunger Games with double the amount of tributes. The story places a thematic emphasis on rebellion, the power of propaganda, the pursuit of justice, and the enduring power of love and friendship. The novel will be adapted by Lionsgate, with the film set to be released in November of 2026. It was, yeah! Yours are holding on for dear life, going on 5 weeks! Any MMO is usually all or nothing approach. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's kind of how I feel like I can't always just, keep up with it. You know what I mean? Hi, Britt, welcome on in. I'm so excited. So, what I need to do, I didn't read or watch the movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I felt like going into it, because it wasn't centered around President Snow, I was so interested in reading it about Haymitch. So I have to go back and read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and also watch the movie. So just keep that in mind. With everything that I'm talking about today, I'm obviously missing information, okay? I don't think it's detrimental for me because I understood everything that was going on in the novel, but you might have a different approach, or maybe there are more Easter eggs if you've read the first prequel book. Does that make sense? Okay. So, before we get into it, flat out, what did you rate it? What was your initial reaction to the book, and how many stars did you rate it out of 5? I'll go first. I freaking loved it. I knew I was going to be devastated, but I was devastated reading this book. Y'all really need to be in an emotional state to read this book, I think. And if you've read the original trilogy, you kind of knew already what was going on, but just to see it played out and acted out, it was just, I was a mess. 10 out of 5 stars for me. It was incredible. It was an incredible, incredible read. Suzanne Collins is just one of the prolific dystopian writers of our time. And I'm going to go into some of the themes and motifs as well. But just the way that she matched up so much stuff together with our real world counterparts. And remember that Collins had said before, she had said that she would never expand on the universe unless she had something to say. And boy, did she have something to say with this book. She had a lot to say. Did you, Moonwitch? Okay. Because already, President Snow he's a terrible person. And I don't think I want to see how he became that way, because he still became that way. So I kind of understand what you're saying. It's pretty condensed from the book itself. Then maybe I'll just watch the movie. Camellia 5, Brit 5, Instant 5 from Kells, 5 emotional damage from Star, 4 out of 5 Ariel 5, 5 Alina. Yeah. It really! Taria. Oh, listen, I'm not telling you what to do, but I really think you'd love the original trilogy. If you liked this, you will. You will. Definitely. Yeah. 10 out of 10. You don't really like first person, could only get through it with the audiobook. Oh, yeah, that's right, you did. I didn't do the audiobook. I did do the physical, or rather the ebook. So, hit all the feels, yeah. Loves to break us emotionally, right? This book, compared to the original trilogy, I'm trying to be careful because I know not everybody read the original trilogy, okay? Death is in abundance in the entire Hunger Games universe, but this one was just horrific. It was horrific. You hate him so much. Yeah? Mockingjay, right? Hi, Caleb. We'll see you soon. Reading ballad is needed in the grand scheme of things for a lot of moving parts. That's so fair. That's so fair. Doc, thank you so much for gifting us a sub to Star. Star, welcome on back. Doc, thank you. Thank you for being so sweet. Thank you, honey. I definitely want to talk about ballad because I guess I'm confused as to why we needed to read it. Gotcha. I can't answer that because I didn't read it. But again, maybe it's just adding some more insight into President Snow and what happened to him there. I do know that he had a love interest, and I wonder if that was kind of like a foil to Haymitch's love interest in this book, Lenore. Going off of that, let's jump into themes. Oh, God, sorry. Come on, Google Docs. Okay. I wrote so much. Maybe I can try and condense this myself. Okay. Some themes that are very prevalent in Sunrise on the Reaping. The dangers of media monopoly and propaganda. In David Hume's treatise on implicit submission, oh my God, sorry, this just refreshed. Please hold. He opines that all governments are founded solely on public opinion. In Pan Am, the capital's total control of the media gives them disproportionate control over the minds of their citizens. In Sunrise on the Reaping, Haymitch and his fellow tributes struggle to retain agency over their own stories. As the capital creates propaganda to dehumanize and divide the districts, the tributes attempt to create more empowering and hopeful narratives, only to be thwarted by the capital's media monopoly. Collins shows how the capital uses propaganda to maintain power by shaping not just what people see, but what they can imagine as possible. Haymitch's first encounter with the capital's media manipulation occurs at the Reaping. Though the capital claims that the Reaping is broadcast live, it's actually recorded on a 5-minute delay, allowing the capital to edit out any unwanted events like the shooting of Woodbine Chance. Presenting the broadcast as live gives the constructed narrative a false sense of legitimacy while removing any references to sedition, thereby discouraging viewers from considering that sedition is even possible. They don't know what's happening. They don't think anybody is rising up. So they're complacent because they think this is the only choice that they have. This manipulation isn't just aimed at the districts. The capital ensures its citizens' complacency through a constant diet of luxury, entertainment, and anti-district sentiment. Their approach, referenced in the name Pan Am, utilizes the concept of bread and circuses, a metonym coined by the Roman poet Juvenal to describe how governments distract their citizens from political issues by satisfying their basic needs and providing ample entertainment. Now, we cannot discuss dystopian novels without relating it to real-world politics and real-world situations. A great example of this is the pandemic. Black Lives Matter. People were working from home. People were not working. People had time to voice their disdain with numerous different things going on in the world, including the pandemic, including Black lives, including AAPI lives. And that was the first time as a society that I truly believe that we got fully conscious. And then what happened after that, chat? Most businesses went back to the workplace. Most businesses, and including our current economy, things got more expensive. We have tariffs now that we're dealing with. So this to me is a huge reflection of what we saw in 2020. Camellia, no worries. I'm going to have this up on the VOD channel as well, babe. The marches against the incumbent that are exactly... People don't think it's happening. But main news channels are not providing that coverage, and you're getting it from independent news sources on TikTok, on Instagram, etc., right? The ultimate futility of the tribute's effort at creating their own propaganda highlights the consequences of a society without free and equal access to media. The Capitol's control of the media and its ability to shape public opinion are key tools of oppression, ensuring the continued suppression of hope, agency, and rebellion. Another theme that we see present in the novel is the complexities of submission and control. At the start of Sunrise on the Reaping, Haymitch is resigned to the inevitability of the Hunger Games. After he is reaped, however, he begins to wonder why he is so predisposed towards accepting the status quo that rebellion feels impossible. Though he attributes this to his own cowardice, Sunrise on the Reaping examines the complex systems of physical and psychological control that governments use to keep their citizens complacent and submissive. The Capitol's most obvious method of control is the threat of violence. The Hunger Games themselves are a public display of brutal violence, with children forced to fight to the death in retaliation for a war that ended 50 years ago. Their deaths, often gory and agonizing, are broadcast throughout Panem, sending a clear message. This is what happens when you disobey. Though the Hunger Games largely succeed at preventing a second war, they also sow resentment and the seeds of rebellion in the districts, as they witness the brutal slaughter of their own year after year. When Haymitch enters the games, Snow directly threatens to have his loved ones killed unless he stops making trouble for the Capitol. After the game, Snow once again uses violence as a control tactic by having Haymitch's loved ones killed. He succeeds in driving Haymitch into isolation and alcohol dependency, hoping to neutralize his usefulness to the rebels. Nevertheless, he cannot stop the tide of resistance from continuing to rise. Haymitch's arc reveals that even within the most oppressive systems, each individual act of defiance matters. The Capitol's tactics may prop Panem up through implicit submission, but ultimately, the many win out over the few. This is why you need to read it, because it gives you more insight within the why do the games exist. Gotcha. Okay. And the way they treat literally like animals. Literally. Hannah, hi. Welcome on in. How are you doing today? Okay, last theme, the importance of resistance. Sunrise on the Reaping begins 50 years after the civil war between Panem and the districts. Through Haymitch's attempt to stop the Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping examines the role of individual contributions in the long-term struggle against oppression, reinforcing the importance of resistance. Haymitch initially seems to be the hero the rebellion has been waiting for. He's young, charismatic, courageous, and proves himself willing to defy the Capitol at great cost. Plutarch and Beatty identify him as their best bet to carry out a large-scale sabotage of the Second Quarter Quell Arena, hoping to bring a sudden and climactic end to the games. This act would constitute a refusal to play by the Capitol's rules and fracture the existing status quo, offering an opportunity to end the games for good. As Haymitch works towards this plan, other characters resist the Capitol in quieter ways. Not everyone can be a hero or the face of a movement, but their efforts matter nonetheless. Haymitch's role in the rebellion does indeed continue as he becomes a District 12 mentor, with Katniss, Haymitch's eventual mentee, overthrowing the Capitol and ending the Hunger Games. In hindsight, readers see that none of the efforts made by Haymitch and his allies were wasted. Each act of bravery and defiance, both large and small, contributed to the growth of the movement that ultimately brought down the Capitol. That's something that I really loved seeing, is like, okay, going into it, you know things are not changing, and it's going to take a while before they do. But despite everything that Haymitch endured, the brutality of it, the horrific nature of the people that he loved that were brutally killed, it still mattered. It still mattered. Symbols and motifs. Let's talk about the Raven. All of the cover name for a ballad or poem. Edgar Allan Poe's narrative poem, The Raven, is Lenore Dove's name song. Throughout the novel, Haymitch repeats stanzas from The Raven with increasing frequency as his life begins to parallel the plot of the poem, transforming the poem into a key motif. In The Raven, the poem's narrator is haunted by the loss of a woman named Lenore, presumably his late lover. He's awash in sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden who the angels name Lenore. He seeks Nepenthe, a possibly fictional drug that will erase memories of his loss. Quaff, oh quaff this kind Nepenthe and forget this lost Lenore. Answering a tapping on his door, the speaker is confronted by a raven who repeats the words nevermore. The narrator asks several questions, such as whether he can forget Lenore and if they will one day be reunited. To each question, the raven replies nevermore, driving the speaker further into despair. At the start of the novel, Haymitch's relationship to the raven is positive. References to the poem are limited. When called to mind, it reminds Haymitch of his rare and radiant maiden, and he repeats it to comfort Lulu when she cannot sleep, or to soothe himself with pleasant memories of Lenore. Once Haymitch enters the arena, however, the poem punctuates the text more frequently. Haymitch begins to relate to the grief-addled narrator as he questions of whether he will ever see his own Lenore again. The answer to his question is foreshadowed in the text by the raven's repeated cry of nevermore. After the games, Haymitch's fate briefly diverges from that of Poe's speaker as he is reunited with Lenore, only for her to be killed by Snow's poison. Chapter 27 contains the entirety of The Raven, with stanzas breaking up the text every few paragraphs as Haymitch repeats the poem to himself. Hope only arrives in the epilogue, which shows an adult Haymitch who has finally made peace with Lenore's memory. Unlike Poe's speaker, Haymitch has broken out of his isolation and sought new relationships that have helped him heal. He's confident that he will see Lenore again after death, and ends the novel by professing his continued love. It did, and that's why I said that, like, Collins is so meticulous with the themes and the things that are discussed. I mean, God, some of it, obviously, it's not, how do I say this? Because this is not a slight against her, but, like, it's, the Raven is, like, very clear that, you know, it's supposed to be, he's supposed to be embodying the narrator, right? So, like, this is not stuff that, you know, you're trying to read through and try and find, oh, I think I have evidence of this. Oh, I think I have evidence of this. It's beating you over the head. But I still appreciate that because, listen, we got where we were because people are dumb. People need to be beaten. That Nerd Violet quote from 2025. People need to be beaten. It is such a deep choice. Sunrise on the Reaping is Poe? Yeah, definitely. The Raven in the same way again, absolutely. Speaking of songbirds and other things that, you know, we have seen in the franchise, Flint Striker. A flint striker is a fire-making device that creates a spark when struck against a flint or another sparking rock. On Haymitch's birthday, Lenore gifts him a flint striker fashioned by her uncle, which features the head of a snake and a bird facing one another. The flint striker is a key symbol representing Haymitch's pivotal role in the movement that eventually becomes the Second Rebellion. Fire is a central symbol in the Hunger Games trilogy. It was first introduced in the Hunger Games when Katniss's prep team styles her as the girl who was on fire. In Mockingjay, fire becomes a symbol of resistance against the Capitol, used by the rebels in pro-revolution propaganda with the rallying cry, "Fire is catching." In contrast to Mockingjay, Sunrise on the Reaping depicts a smaller and ultimately less successful attempt at overthrowing the Hunger Games. One of the novel's key themes is the long-term fight for liberation, which encompasses many smaller successes and failures. While Haymitch's sabotage in the arena doesn't ignite an immediate rebellion, it plays a crucial role in the longer battle for liberation. His role as a defiant victor and eventual mentor help elevate Katniss into her role as the central figure of the Second Rebellion. If Katniss is the fire, Haymitch and his flint striker create the spark that eventually grows into the flame of revolution. Riot Brit so much. Yes, 100%. 100%. Welly was devastating. Devastating. Okay, let's talk about it. Book club questions. Compare Sunrise on the Reaping to other books in the Hunger Games series. Some of you have read it, some of you haven't. So just be careful about spoilers in here. Is there a noticeable shift in tone or theme? If so, how does Collins accomplish this shift? I'll go first. You're dealing with kids killing kids. I don't think it's ever going to be sunshine and roses. But this novel was devastating. I mean, we'd meet a character, boom, gone. Meet a character, boom, gone. I mean, like, and obviously you're feeling for these characters, but like there was so much death in this novel. So much death. In the original Hunger Games, Rue ruined me. And in this book, every character ruined me. Lenore probably, obviously, the worst. Because you were just waiting for it. But this was just devastating. And I also definitely felt like, compared to the other novels, I mean, obviously, we talked about the themes. The theme of propaganda was way more prevalent in this one. Lenore Duff, of course, yes. You're very correct, Star. I've just been calling her Lenore. But I appreciate that. It is important to Haymitch, yes. The double tributes did make it more difficult to get attached to some characters. That's so fair. That's so fair. How do we control the narrative for Ballad? And Sunrise is like, how can we paint our own stories and realize the propaganda? So expanding on it. Yeah. You feel like you relate to Haymitch so much more after reading this book. Yes, 100%. I definitely felt like some of the things that I've gone through in my life mirrored Haymitch's, and I think that's also why I felt it so deeply. And I think some other people will feel that way too, you know, as somebody that, like, I've spoken about this before, I've dealt with a lot of tragedy in my life, and seeing that Haymitch did too, and seeing him turn to, you know, alcohol and other things to, like, numb the pain, and then Katniss and Peeta came around and, like, he was able to deal with the stuff that he went through finally, and come out on the other side. I feel like I've been starting to come out on the other side of it too. And it's obviously not that you're like trying to forget, but like Haymitch, in spite of it all or despite it all, still felt love for Lenore Dove and was with his new found family at the end in the epilogue. It's your Roman Empire, used to run a fan site and everything. I love that. What's up, Guacamole? We're going to be playing Mario Party in an hour and 15 minutes with some pals. I think the relationship between Haymitch and the Everdeens before Katniss was born is what brought him back. I will say that too. I think that was definitely like, it was definitely a stepping stone because I don't even think that he would have like, how do I say this? I don't think he would have been as receptive to working with Katniss had it not been for the Everdeens. Definitely, definitely. So we kind of answered this one already, but how did Sunrise on the Reaping change your perspective on the character of Haymitch Abernathy? Oh my God, he went through so much. He went through so much. At least in the first novel, he was more seen as like a comic relief and just very, you know, like surly. He was very like angry man. And you're like, God, man, like just get your act together, like help Katniss. Oh my God, shit, pump the brakes. He's been through some shit. So that definitely gave me a different feeling of him and oh my God, everything that he's gone through. Yeah. Yeah. He's broken and it's not fair. It's not fair. Another question, is Sunrise on the Reaping an effective entry into the Hunger Games canon? Does it work as a standalone novel as well as a prequel? So I'm going to say what I said before. I did not read Ballad. I think Sunrise works as a connection to the overall Hunger Games world. I think it could be a standalone for somebody to read and then go into the trilogy. You understand what I mean? Like if they wanted to start with this book and then read Hunger Games, I don't think that it would work as effectively if you only read Sunrise on the Reaping, because this is basically so much insight to Haymitch. Then you get the epilogue, and it's like you don't see the stuff that happens in between. So I don't think it would be amazing just to leave it there. What do y'all think? Did not read. I just know from the visual media, it's not a surprise he turns to drinking. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely astonishing that this man was still sane and standing by the time the trilogy took place. Yeah. 100%. 100%. He could have drank himself to death. Me too, Britt. Now that I read his point of view, it definitely hurts how much he was put through. Definitely. Mike, hi. I just get him now, and he's so strong not to be completely gone. Yeah. Someone mentioned they were disappointed in Haymitch, and I would like to hear what they have to say. What the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you mean they were disappointed? Tell me. Were you disappointed? Okay, genuinely. Why? Is it, were you disappointed in him in this book or how he was with Katniss, like at the beginning of the Hunger Games? Knowing why he was how he puts into perspective so much. He failed to protect the people he wanted to in the arena, survived only to come home to the destruction of his family and his love, and ultimately his best friend, that was haunted by the ghosts of his past watching Katniss grow up, just to be tasked with the Hail Mary of keeping her safe in the same manner he couldn't keep people safe before. Exactly, he was living a nightmare. An absolute nightmare and being haunted by it. Yeah. He tried to push Katniss so hard in Catching Fire because he didn't want what happened to him to happen to her. Exactly. He didn't want the cycle to continue. He's like, I've been through enough and I can't have this happen to somebody else. And he was already connecting with her at this point. I would argue that they were already like, he saw her as somebody that he needed to protect, right? Right? And also, Ariel, I hope you didn't think that this was abrasive at all for me asking. I thought that we were joking about being disappointed. So my apologies when I was reading Moon Witch's response and then your response. So please don't feel like we're all attacking you. I promise that's not the case. I would love to hear your point of view. I just also have to keep thinking about how he must have felt when he got reaped again before Peeta volunteered. Right! Just to then find out that Beetee, Wiress, and Mags were all reaped as well, right? I loved seeing Mags in this, by the way. Was Mags featured, I guess this is kind of a spoiler thing, but was Mags featured in Ballad? Because Sweetheart, I know. Haymitch was a 16-year-old kid who was brought up by a single mother in a district that was purposefully kept in a worse state than other districts, with the entire government bullying him and killing everyone around him that became close with. Numbing himself is more than understandable, and when he was able to, he did help Katniss. Right. 100%. Yeah, definitely. In this book specifically, okay, I get that he was trying to show the world how brutal the games were, but it was clear from the reaping and their procession in the capital that the media was heavily controlled. It felt like Haymitch was given multiple opportunities to back down and not put people in harm. He would stick to that for 2 seconds, try again, lose someone, make that vow, and break it all over again. It was just disappointing. Okay, so you're saying that, like, he was already trying, he was already seeing that was ineffective, but he kept doing it anyway and didn't get a new, how do I say this? He kept trying and it didn't have a good outcome. I can see that. I can definitely see that. And I can see how that was frustrating. But in my mind with it, I think every time he would see, oh, here's my loved one, they're gone, it gave him that strength to be like, well, I don't want any more of them. So he was almost utilizing his loved ones as like motivation for their, I feel like sacrifices is not the best word, but as motivation to try and save the other ones that he's loved. So for me, it wasn't repetitive in that manner. Um, but frustrating with the outcome for sure because he kept hitting goose egg. You know what I mean? Mags is not invalid. Gotcha. Not that he deserved that punishment, but he definitely had opportunities to stop. I feel like this is a really good moment to bring up something. I just don't, Ariel, I don't want you to think I'm focusing on you. If I were to say to you that our current government said you cannot speak about X, Y, and Z, or else you'll go to prison, right? Whether that's in the country or El Salvador or the newest one is Alcatraz, I don't know. But let's just put that up there, right? And you're somebody that speaks about it and you go to prison, you get let out. You speak about it again, you go to prison, you get let out. You know what I mean? Like the repetitive of it. Would you, in that manner, and this goes for everybody, would you say that you kept doing that to yourself at a certain point or that you're trying to rise up above oppression? Hamish was in a mindset that he wasn't going to win this or escape the games. Everything he was trying to do was to end the games. Right, definitely. She won the 11th games. Ballot is about the 10th. Oh, okay. I just didn't know if she was featured a little bit in there, though. Maisie Lee's death specifically, around the time with the milk, because he'd already vowed to die, and then Welly. Right, okay, yeah. To you, if he stopped then, he would lose the rebellion he worked towards. Like, all of that motivation, right? Well, again, a big theme about this is that while he didn't succeed at the second rebellion, he placed the steps in which Katniss was able to overtake it years later, right? What he's doing is the epitome of civil disobedience. Right. I absolutely would say I kept doing it to myself. Yeah. So I guess, like, you just kind of wanted him to, like, own it at that point? Maybe? Actually, this has to do with another book club question I've got, if you don't mind. Each character in Sunrise on the Reaping has a unique approach to the idea of resistance, from Maisie Lee's weaponized snark to Hamish's arena plot. Which one of these approaches resonated with you the most? If you were called to participate in Panem's revolution, how would you choose to do it? After you tried twice and failed and got threats to my family, I would just stop. Gotcha. Hey, and that's so valid too. Thank you for having this discussion with us. I really appreciate it. And y'all, this is what I say time and time again. I love that we can read the same book and have different feelings about it and love certain parts and hate other certain parts and be frustrated and everything. Like, I genuinely, this is what it's all about. This is why I do it. So, Ariel, thank you so much for being a good sport and having this discussion with us. Like, I hope that you're not feeling isolated or at all. And just thank you. Thank you so much. Maisie Lee's approach appealed to you the most. Okay. Anybody else? In my own character, I think I would probably agree with you that anybody that was like more sneaky and less, how do I say this? Less blatantly disregarding stuff, less athletic, is probably what I would match up with more the most as well. Just knowing how I am as a person. Nathan, hi! Targeting specific tributes, forcing situations that cause harm in a non-harm area. That's their specialty. Right! Definitely. I mean, look what happened with the gumdrops at the end with Lenore Dove, right? Nathan, hello! Awesome, thanks, Ariel. We're happy that you're here! Also, to be fair, he's a 16-year-old with adults telling him how to break the arena. Right, definitely. Yeah, we gotta bring age into it, right? He feels like he's part of a bigger rebellion and needs to do his part before he ultimately is killed. He's also holding the promise to Lenore to stop the sunrise on the reaping. I really liked where Maisie Lee was coming from, refusing to be treated like less, kept insisting that they're worth just as much. Obvious that the big flash rebellious arcs are needed as well, but this constant everyday insistent not to allow them to view you as less really resonated. Definitely. And it's a lot of stuff that we're seeing now too, you know, even just if you're on TikTok and you're broadcasting news, it's news that is not going to be featured on Fox. It's news that's not going to be featured on CNN, CBS, etc. They're only stories that you will find on like independent media. And they're not doing some huge grand act of rebellion, right? They're just reporting on real life stuff that's happening. So I definitely get that. I forget he's a child. That's fair. The outright galvanizing thing is so important too. Yeah. Maisley was also out here being a rebel with her attitude like PETA, not wanting to be a piece in their games and die as her, paint her own poster. Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I did kind of see like the similarities. What was this from? Was this Catching Fire? I don't want to go too deep into it, but when they were interviewing Katniss and PETA's like, oh, if it wasn't for X, and the crowd gasped, and I was like, PETA, oh my, you're brilliant. Okay, some more questions. How are we doing on time? Hold on. Okay, it's 3 o'clock. Panem is modeled after a futuristic dystopia in the ruins of North America. Now, remember, I know that we always keep using the term dystopia, but dystopian literature is a genre of fiction set in a future or near future society where life and social structures are in calamitous decline. This is not something that you hope to achieve. This is something that's like worst case scenario. Okay, you're in a dystopian society. Authors of dystopian literature typically use the setting to examine social and political systems and contemplate what would happen if these systems were amplified. The result is often a society in shambles with rampant oppression, violence, poverty, and revolution. If you like this, by the way, and you want some classic literature that could also be reflective of the current times, may I please suggest Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, 1984, the MaddAddam trilogy, Oryx and Crake, and Handmaid's Tale if you really want to get involved with it. But I feel like the MaddAddam trilogy is Margaret Atwood's better work. Anyway, analyze parallels between Panem and modern day North American society. What aspects of culture and society might Collins have intended the novel to critique? Do we have all the time? Thank you for the follows. Hi. I love how 24 years later, PETA echoes Maisie Lee's sentiment about not being a pawn in the games. Yeah. I know, Kels. I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm like, oh God, I might have said too much already. The amount of tributes again and how it relates to America. Do it. 50. You're a book club, Hi-Fi. The better question would be to ask what Suzanne didn't commentate on. True! She commentated on a lot of this stuff this time around. Yes, the Reaping Day. 4th of July. Interesting. Interesting. There were 1,776 tributes in the games before the 74th started. No, not significant at all. No. You're back in your account? Wait, did you lose access to it? I wonder what that could mean. Doesn't it just twist the knife? All purposeful. Yep. Incredible. Well, speaking of, okay, so obviously, there's a lot of real world parallels, right? However, usually, as we've seen before in the original Hunger Games trilogy and in this book, okay, we have poems, we have songs that are all works of fiction, okay? That changed in here. Sunrise on the Reaping references several real-world texts, including The Goose and the Common and The Raven. why might Collins have chosen to include real text this time, along with fictional songs and poems? What do you think? I'm going to say this twofold. For me, number one, she saw the value in those works and wanted to include them. But number two, I think she really wanted to showcase a world where these texts were in it and how much closer we are getting to the Hunger Games in our own current society. What about y'all, chat? Oh, you were! The whole day? The calls are coming from inside the country! And including that the Covey specifically had books that they turn into songs, Plutarch had a massive library. There it is. It's 100% confirmed that Pan Am is what happened after the fall of the U.S. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like a week? Oh, I didn't even know that. She's getting more worried that IRL is straying closer. Definitely. 100%. 100%. Okay, I feel like we've already talked about that stuff. The Mockingjay pin, a central symbol of Katniss and the Rebellion, makes an appearance in Sunrise on the Reaping as a forgotten trinket of Maisie Lee's that is passed on to Katniss after her death. How does this context affect the meaning of the symbol for y'all? You posted in schedule about it? Oh, I didn't see it. It's so fine. It's so cool. I just didn't know. That sucks. I had that issue with Discord a while back. So for me, it makes the symbol that much stronger. And again, maybe there's some other issues, like, yeah, maybe some other stuff in Ballad. But for me, it makes the pin that much stronger. And I like knowing who had it, for Maisie Lee to have gone through what she did and then Katniss to become the face of the revolution. It's like passing the torch in a manner, especially with working with Haymitch. But I'm assuming in Ballad there's even more stuff. Okay. So y'all are telling me I'm going to have to read this, right? Obviously. I think that's all I've got because the other questions we've already answered. I think that's it. Is there anything else that y'all want to talk about that I haven't brought up yet? I do still have a quote section. One spoke to my freaking OCD. Can I bring this up? So this is between Haymitch and Lenore Dove, okay? So this was chapter 1, page 7. Haymitch says, because the reaping's going to happen no matter what I believe. Sure as the sun will rise tomorrow. Lenore Dove frowns. Well, there's no proof that will happen. You can't count on things happening tomorrow just because they happened in the past. It's faulty logic. And I was like, girl, please, don't be so loud, okay? My OCD doesn't know anything faulty. The quote encapsulates the central theme of the novel. Most of Pan Am, including Haymitch, is conditioned to accept the continued existence of the Hunger Games. The capital actively discourages independent and critical thought to keep the district subservient. Lenore offers a differing viewpoint, stating that the historical existence of the status quo doesn't have to guarantee its continuation. Lenore's defiance and hope here function as a foil to Haymitch's gloomy apathy, introducing the complexities of submission and control. One more snooze. Yeah, let's snooze it. Let's snooze it. And then I think I have to do it after this. Because I think we have 3 snoozes per hour, so we should be fine. Me too, Alex. I was like, no, I'm good now. I'm like, well, connection is needed. Red strings on the corkboard. I'm worried about how they will incorporate it in the movie. It's a very important plot point that it's passed on from Maisie Lee and is eventually given to Katniss by the mayor's daughter. However, the Hunger Games movie changed the origin of the pin. True. Well, remember, like, we've seen this with Star Wars where they had something original in the film, and then the prequels came out with Hayden Christensen, and things were changed. So I wonder, I'm not even joking, I wonder if that's going to be changed in the original movie. It could. Anything is possible. Hollywood would love a re-release. Are you kidding me? They would love it. They'd get so much money. Can you imagine if it's sent into the theaters like, these have been changed to reflect the prequel movies, blah, blah, blah. The geese, oh my God, yes. Does a death here hit the hardest hit for you? Maisie Lee and Lenore. And again, I know if you read the original trilogy, like, you know it's coming. And again, with all of the foreshadowing, you know that Lenore Dove is not making out of this. But like in the manner at which it happened, in the manner that Snow was able to do this to not only Lenore, but Haymitch, it was so, I don't know what other word to use. I keep using the same word, horrific, sinister. Like Satan himself to do it. And I think what made it worse is like, you know, the outcome. So Haymitch's feelings and worry have like become a pit of stress in your stomach. Because like, you know what's going to happen and he has no idea. He has no idea. Sucks. The Clone Wars basically expounds upon the reason why Anakin is so appalled in episode 3 as to why he was allowed a seat on the council, but not granted the title of Jedi Master. Oh, interesting. Where did Lulu come from? How long was she there for? What did her family do to deserve that? Why was she kidnapped? I have so many questions. Right. And I wonder if the fact that, like, none of these questions will be answered is part of it. Like, just another cog on the wheel sort of situation, right? Because of the capital, basically. Yeah. Emperor hit the hardest for you somehow. Like, I knew the tributes were going to die, but that one hit so hard. Yeah. The location of her death is so important, but it only means anything if you know Ballad. Okay. Gotcha. All you know is the propaganda on how it's going to turn out from the edits of the games as seen through the eyes of Katniss. Right. On the unexpected side, Burdock's death actually became far more impactful for you. Knowing that had things been different, he would have grown up as Uncle Haymitch to Katniss and Prim. Yeah, yeah. Haymitch's mom and brother. They were right there and he couldn't get to them. And I can only imagine how his mom felt knowing that she couldn't save either of her boys. Yeah. Devastating. Devastating. What other quotes do I have down? I have so many from here. The ads are starting in 3 minutes, so I got to do this fast. Can I talk about the epilogue again? It's from part 3, epilogue 163. She's not an easy person. She's like me, PETA always says. But she was smarter than me, or luckier. She's the one who finally kept that sun from rising. The epilogue connects Sunrise and the Reaping to the events of the original trilogy, confirming the eventual success of the revolution and the reshaping of Panem into a democracy. The promise Haymitch made to Lenore Dove is fulfilled, though it is several decades too late for her to see it. I know! She's brilliant! Yeah, the fact that Luella and Lulu were seen as interchangeable only show how Snow does not see these children as people 100%. And it's so, like, garish because, like, other people can tell that they're different, but even to, like, the Capitol, they had no idea. And it's blatant. It's right in front of their faces. So the people of the Capitol, the people that, you know, are dressed to the nines, that just enjoy the entertainment, just, you know, enjoy all this other stuff, like, they're completely under the spell. It's wild. Welly is, oh my God, I know. After saving her, trying to save herself. Dropped off Haymitch at home with the other tributes' coffins, right? Right? Yeah. Chat, I will have you continue this, okay? But I am, actually, no, I'll stay for like 10 more minutes. We're just gonna have an ad start, okay? Also, we're just back to 3 minutes of ads per hour, not 5 minutes anymore. I will stay until 3:30, and then I'll actually, can we keep talking about this, but I can have my yogurt? Do you mind? Can I just run and get it? Keep telling me what you want to tell me. The other tributes didn't clock Lulu not being pointed out that Haymitch wasn't able to blow up the arena to save Beatty's little boy, but Beatty was able to blow up the arena to save Haymitch's girl. They didn't clock Lulu not being Luella because they hadn't been close enough to the District 12 tributes to notice until she sings the District 11 song in front of the kids from 11. You're so right. You're so right. Emotional damage to TikTok that pointed out that Haymitch wasn't able to blow up the arena. Oh, sorry, I already read that one. My apologies. Awful. Awful. All right, keep talking. Let me get my yogurt. Can I get some gurt in the chat? Please don't. I don't know why I said that. Just ignore me. Sorry, I made some more sweet tea this morning. I definitely need sugar. No, Gert. My body suffers from that already. Gert. Anything else that y'all wanted to discuss that we didn't? Do you think you would read a third book in the trilogy if one comes out? If a third book comes out, I'm going to be honest with you, I think we've gotten too close to the sun. I didn't even want a second one to come out, so... If a third one does, who would you want it to follow? Want to see if anybody says the same as me. Who do you want it to follow? A third prequel book. I got one. Yep, I was gonna say Finnick. 100% I was gonna say Finnick. Well, maybe we can do like another one later on this year if folks want to discuss more about it. Because I'm due for a reread of the OG trilogy anyway. And obviously, Ballad. You'd read anything? I feel you on that, Ariel. I know my mental health better be sparkling. Ooh, Cinna. Okay. You never left him, not really. If you fucking start, I don't have good mascara on today. But you're right. Finnick, but you're scared for that? Yeah. You see Finnick as a choice a lot? We don't want to read. Right, right. Ooh. You want Haymitch's point of view during the trilogy. Okay. Kind of like what happened with Twilight. Which was... Oh, what is it freaking called? Like Edward's point of view from the first book. I could see that. I could see that. Ooh, the first game could be really interesting. Okay. Annie. Okay. Alina, yeah. Ooh. The final one, after it fell. All the bird references in this book. Birds play a big role in the entire series itself, too. I could see Mags. I feel like Mags would be my number 2. After Ballad and all that. Okay. Midnight Sun, thank you. I knew I had some Twihards in here. Of course, Star was the first one. Moonwitch, I'm impressed with you. Something in chronological order. It would have to be like right before Katniss goes on. What if we get Peeta's point of view? I feel like that could fit. Like the lead up to Hunger Games to like connect it in with Pete. I don't know. Sorry, I had an idea. Joanna, yeah. Plutarch. True. I love that we saw him. Do we see Plutarch in Ballad? You didn't turn around and look at your bookshelf? Were you lying to me? Yeah, I agree, Britta. Brit, sorry, yeah. You see his father? Wait, Plutarch's father? Not Peeta's dad, right? That would be way too many years before. So Plutarch's father. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Another instance of me talking about 2 different things at one point. We talk about a thing? Yeah. What thing? Oh, Rue would be devastating. Somebody said in there earlier that's like, I would read Phoenix, but I wouldn't but I don't want it. Like, I don't hope it happens. I'd be that with Rue. Rue devastated me. He was Snow's classmate. Oh. The plot thickens. Murdoch saving Othello at the Reaping, guaranteeing the future of Panem because the big hunk of a boy didn't get down when shots were fired. Shut up. So what do you think really happened? Yep. Kels is like, hey. Sorry, Charlotte sneezed and it scared me. Me too, Jerry. I don't think I'm emotionally capable, which is why I don't think this is going to be devastating, but for our next book club, I already told y'all. Actually, let me update this while I'm here. Our next book club is going to be A Wrinkle in Time. I need something cutesy for Pride, okay? I'm doing cutesy only for Pride. And this is going to be what date again? 5/26. Cool. Do I have a timer for that? I don't think I do, right? No. Okay, good. Effie! Yeah! 100%. I would love that. Oh, the TV host. What's his freaking name? Oh, what's his name? Yes. I can't remember. I love him. Yeah. That's what I want. That's what I want. I'm like, I need 2 to 3 business months to recover from this one. Y'all mind?